이 위대한 구원. 크로스포인트 주니어 처치에서 전해드리는 이 시간, 담당의 Darin Pantley 형제입니다.
Hi, this is Darin Pantley from Crosspoint Bible Church. In the book of Acts, it says the early Christians shared everything they had. So if anyone needed money, someone would go and sell some land or sell a house and share the proceeds, share the money. For example, Joseph, a Levite from Cyprus, whom the apostles called Barnabas, which means son of encouragement, sold a field he owned and brought the money and put it at the apostles' feet. It's also written that all the believers were one in heart and mind. So they all agreed this was a good idea. Share what you've got, support the community of believers. They understood how to honor God's people, and by extension, God Himself. Well, most of them did. There was one couple who didn't quite get it. It says, "Now a man named Ananias, together with his wife Sapphira, also sold a piece of property. With his wife's full knowledge, he kept back part of the money for himself, but brought the rest and put it at the apostles' feet." At this point, they're in it together, because his wife is fully aware of what he's doing. Then Peter said, "Ananias, how is it that Satan has so filled your heart that you have lied to the Holy Spirit and kept for yourself some of the money you received for the land? Didn't it belong to you before it was sold? And after it was sold, wasn't the money at your disposal? What made you think of doing such a thing? You have not lied just to human beings, but to God." I have to wonder, did he think he could get away with it? Maybe he thought he could trick Peter. Okay, fine. But did he also think he could trick God? How was that supposed to work? Either Ananias really thought he could hide this whole thing from God, or he didn't believe God even existed. Or maybe he thought God does exist, but he's not involved in our lives now. No matter how you look at this, there's something deeply off about Ananias' beliefs, which didn't become obvious until we saw his actions. After Peter told him these things, it says, when Ananias heard this, he fell down and died, and great fear seized all who heard what had happened. Then some young men came forward, wrapped up his body, and carried him out and buried him. So what about his wife? About 3 hours later, his wife came in, not knowing what had happened. Peter asked her, "Tell me, is this the price you and Ananias got for the land?" "Yes," she said, "that is the price." So she's just as delusional as her husband. She's supposed to be one of the believers in the church. We see she's participating and sharing money, but she clearly doesn't believe we have an all-powerful God of the universe who can see what she's doing. Peter said to her, "How could you conspire to test the Spirit of the Lord? Listen, the feet of the men who buried your husband are at the door, and they will carry you out also." At that moment she fell down at his feet and died. Then the young men came in, and, finding her dead, carried her out and buried her beside her husband. If you think about it, there are a lot of little details in this story that could distract us from the bigger picture. What did they sell? Was it a lot of land? Was it a little house? Same with the amount. Did he keep $5 to buy himself a sandwich later? Did he keep $50,000 to go shopping? It doesn't say, and it's beside the point, because we can clearly see they didn't respect God's people, and by behaving this way, they made it obvious they didn't respect God Himself either. Ananias and Sapphira lied about the value of their property sale. But that's not something most of us are going to have to worry about very often. I think for us, it might look different. For example, when your teacher or your boss asks you to do some work, but you secretly take some shortcuts, is that honest? Would they feel disrespected if they found out? Every time we try to sneak something past someone, we're basically putting them down, saying they don't matter, and disrespecting them. Our actions directly reflect our beliefs about others and about God. So we get to choose through our actions. We can offend him or we can delight him. We can be like Ananias and Sapphira, or we can be like Joseph. What do your actions reveal about your beliefs?
지금까지 크로스포인트 주니어 처치에서 전해드렸습니다. 언어와 문화의 장벽을 없애고 실시간 동시 통역이 제공되는 크로스포인트 주니어 처치의 주일 예배 시간은 오전 11시이며 교회에 대한 안내는 847-212-6775로 문의해 주시길 바랍니다.